Hello, good afternoon. Thanks for tuning in. This is the third session of the 15-minute Pharmacist in the Corner session that's sponsored by National Pharmaceutical Services Associates. In this session, we're going to be talking about vitamin B2, which is riboflavin, and we're going to be talking about vitamin B3, which is niacin. I'm going to associate my disease state with the vitamin that it's used for to kind of kill two birds with one stone. But we're going to get right into it. The first vitamin I'm talking about is vitamin B2, which is a riboflavin. Riboflavin, it's one of the water-soluble vitamins. It is available in strengths ranging from 100 milligram tablets or capsules to 400 milligrams tablets or capsules. These water-soluble vitamins, they wash right through your system pretty quick. That's why they come in a pretty high dose. The usual recommended dose for riboflavin is like 1.3 milligrams per day, and that's for men. For women, it's usually around 1.1 milligram per day. And you kind of wonder sometimes, why are the vitamins in such high strengths? And people don't understand that sometimes as soon as you take a tablet and swallow it, it starts to break down as soon as possible. The active ingredient of the vitamin B2, the riboflavin, it might not necessarily reach the site that it will take therapeutic action until it's broken all the way down into a lower milligram strength. These vitamins start to break down, and sometimes if something is metabolized in the liver, or it'll take a while for it to get there. So this is why they'll start off with a high dose, so there's still like some active ingredient left by the time it gets down there. Riboflavin is one of the vitamins that are very important. It's part of the B complex, and they call this a B complex because there is so many different actions that certain parts of the B vitamins will kind of hit on. So in the case of riboflavin, which is vitamin B2, we usually would want to remember that it is an antioxidant, so it goes through it, it helps clean up the system, along with keeping the skin in good condition, keeping your pigments nice and strong. They use it sometimes to prevent age. It helps in memory. This is because it aids in the nervous system. It kind of strengthens the nervous system. It helps your skin stay nice and fully hydrated. It carries a lot of the other minerals and important properties to the different parts of the body. They use the riboflavin as a preventative measure for people who have migraines. Sometimes it'll be added. The riboflavin is another one of the B vitamins that it's in the foods that we eat pretty much. You can get your daily requirement if you just eat a balanced diet. The only time that you really probably should be taking extra riboflavin would be if you have been identified as having some type of a vitamin deficiency. If you do have a deficiency, some of the signs would be tired, and you'd have anemia. You might have your eyes would be burning. Another sign of vitamin deficiency of vitamin B2 is bloodshot eyes. If you're walking around, you wonder, why are my eyes red or bloodshot? That's one of the symptoms that tells the physician or the practitioner that there could possibly be a deficiency in vitamin B2. The eyes are burning, and that's because they're dried out. Your nails are split. Poor nails won't grow. Lips are dried out, and the tongue, and you got a sore throat are signs of vitamin deficiency. Now, like I said, riboflavin, they use it for preventative measures for migraines. People use it to fight against developing rheumatoid arthritis. They use it for prevention of cataracts, all kinds of dermatitis, Alzheimer's. They even use it along with vitamin B6 in cases of anxiety and depression. The uses pretty much are determined by a test that would identify if you have a deficiency. Cannot recommend just taking these vitamins for these types of symptoms. If you get a good high potency vitamin B complex, you can't go wrong. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move to vitamin B3. Vitamin B3 is niacin. Now, niacin or niacinamide, another part of the B complex. These, as I explained, as you take these tablets, swallow them, these tablets start to disintegrate, break off into the various different forms of vitamin B that they are. But vitamin B3 is kind of an important vitamin. It's a good one to have on board. Vitamin B3, which we're calling niacin, it really helps in your circulation. They use it a lot for a disease called hypercholesterolemia. Don't know why I couldn't think of that right off the top of my head. I've been looking at it all day. Now, hypercholesterolemia is high cholesterol. Okay, so what is high cholesterol? Basically, it's like the fat in your blood. It is a good example. When people get a cholesterol check, they get something called a total cholesterol count. Okay, the total cholesterol count usually will run around 200. And in your cholesterol count, you have three things that they count: the HDL, the LDL, and your triglycerides. Okay. Now, the HDL is a high density lipoprotein, and the LDL is a low density lipoprotein. This is an example of what the lipoproteins are. Let's look at this example. This is the inside of your artery. Okay, blood passes through the artery. Your high density lipoprotein. And a lipoprotein is a protein that is attached to the blood vessel. Inside the blood vessel, you have your lipoprotein. High density protein is HDL. It's a high density protein. It's small. It's compact. It doesn't pick up a lot of things as it passes through the blood, but it has to pass through the blood in order to get to the heart and to continue to go through the circulation system. Now, this other example is a low-density protein, and I used a cotton ball because this low-density protein is, the reason it's low density is because it's not as dense. It's big, but it's like cotton. It soaks up everything. It's soaking up all the oils in your system. And it's not good to have a lot of this in your system because it will tend to stick to the inside of your artery, okay, in your blood vessels. I'm sorry. So as they keep going through and they're sticking to the inside of your blood vessel, what happens is, and this is because you're eating potato chips, bread, sugar. This it's just going through and it's just picking this stuff up, and it'll get through, but you shouldn't have a whole lot of this in your blood vessels. Whereas your high density lipoproteins, you want to have enough to get through there also. But if there's too many of the low density, it'll clog it up. And this is what the people talk about: clogged arteries and high cholesterol problems. Another example that you might notice, if you ever have to prick your finger or draw some blood, or if you get some blood on your finger, sometimes if you rub it together, it might feel real slippery, like if you almost have a drop of oil on it. Then somebody with high cholesterol, the blood will just be like slippery, like butter almost. Whereas if you just had some water on it, you could feel a little friction in between there because there's no oil in the water. So, our system isn't designed to flow like water. The blood's not supposed to flow like water. The blood has to have oils and fats and stuff in it in order to carry the rest of the nutrients to the body. So, your HDL, which is the high density lipoproteins, proteins, those are good. The LDL, low density lipoproteins, which are they're the bigger ones. They're good too, but you don't have to have a whole lot of them in there. So, they like to keep that the low density below 40, and your high density are like 150, 130, 150. So that's kind of the proportions that we're going to want to maintain in our body. The cholesterol is, like I said, it's needed in the body, but people who have high cholesterol, we're talking about like 3 million people a year get diagnosed with high cholesterol. And if undetected, it can take you out. There's no real signs or symptoms that tell you that you have high cholesterol. You pretty much depends on what you're eating and your diet. If you're eating bad stuff, and you know what bad stuff is: hot dogs, potato chips, candy, just a bad diet, food that's not processed, canned foods. These things will cause your cholesterol levels to increase, and it's important that we learn like real good eating habits. People who don't have good eating habits have a tendency of having high cholesterol. One sure way how you can guarantee that you do not have a cholesterol problem or high cholesterol is there's one thing that we found out: if you can maintain your waist size to around from 38 for men inches around the waist, for women 34, 32 inches around your waist size, it's pretty much a guarantee you will not have a problem with cholesterol, other than the fact that if the disease is a hereditary disease, and I mean a disease where it runs in the family. So if it's not a hereditary disease, you can get away with not having this disease at all. But it's very important that you get your cholesterol checked every 4 to 6 years, and you should probably start doing that after the age of about 25 or so. Even children should get a cholesterol check at least once before they turn the age of 6 or 7, just to make sure it's not something that's tied in with the hereditary part. Risk factors are diabetes, smoking, obesity, overweight, high blood pressure. Remember we were talking about the high blood pressure last week, how the pressure's high in there. So if you got the high levels of the low density lipoproteins, then levels of high density lipoproteins, they'll clog up in your arteries and bring on a heart attack. The foods that you should be eating to keep those cholesterol levels down, and this is a fact: people who eat oatmeal every morning, that will bring your cholesterol down. And it's a proven fact that it brings it down by a nice percentage, 30%, I believe. You got to go with the oily fish, your salmon, your mackerel, fish that are just oily. If you're going to do that, you want to eat some beans. Nuts, walnuts are very good. A food source, cashews, almonds. You want to replace your butter with something like, margarine. But now I just saw some reports this week where margarine's not too good either. So, we're getting to a point to where even what 1 week they're saying is something is good to take for your health, somebody will come out with a report saying that it's not. So you have to kind of, fly by night on it. Got to beef up on your fiber, your green vegetables, your fruits. It's okay to drink a cup of red wine. That keeps the old arteries kind of cleaned out. These items are items that they don't contain or produce a lot of oil in your system, so you don't have to be you don't have to worry that much about the cholesterol levels changing, but it is something that needs to be addressed if it is. Just things that are not good for you, like I said, dark chocolate, crackers, any kind of refined grain, white bread is not good, canola oil. These things increase your cholesterol. Pork, lambs, these are like items that are like yogurt, high saturated fats. Not good, not good. So just those things alone, if you eat a lot of this, get your cholesterol checked, because it's one of those things, like I said, you can't tell when it goes up. It's just up. You're walking around with high cholesterol, then the next thing you know, bang, you had a heart attack or a stroke. The niacin now, we use that for a couple different things. The niacin in a high dose, along with some of the other statins, will lower the lipoprotein count in the body. This is not like a first, one of the first rounds that the physicians go with, and it's given in usually like high dose niacin, available in 400, 125, 500 milligram capsules or tablets. There's a form of something called niacinamide, which is a form of niacin. As niacin goes through the body and breaks up into the smaller parts, it changes in the body in structure, and it changes in name, and it changes in the use. You have to be very specific when you're using niacin. It will cause you to flush after a while, and flushing is like when you take a tablet and maybe 15-20 minutes later you feel your face gets red, you might have a hot flash, or you just feel kind of sweaty, and it just passes through your system real fast. Sometimes you're a little dizzy. It is one that can kind of startle you if you're not used to it. Niacin is one that's also in the B complex. I don't think there's any need to go buy any extra unless your doctor instructs you. Niacin is good for diabetics. It will, by increasing the circulation, and it'll help in circulation. Another one is good for migraine headaches. It prevents them. There is another disease. It's called Meniere's disease. And sometimes, a couple times when I was in the drugstore setting, people would come, and they always come to the counter saying what do they take for dizziness or motion sickness, because they're going on trips, and I'd give them the Dramamine or whatever you need for motion sickness. But a couple of cases I had some people, especially older people, they would come in and they were complaining that they were just dizzy all the time, and they had gone to the doctors, and the doctor couldn't figure out what was wrong with them, and they were, going through the meclizine, which is for dizziness, and it just wasn't working. And so we had learned that this disease called Meniere's disease has kind of gotten back out on the rise, and it will throw people for a loop because usually hits you when you're like older senior citizen. It comes on and you're just dizzy, and you feel like you've been drinking or something, and it just doesn't go away. So one thing I would find out if a person was a smoker and get their age, and quite often I found out it was Meniere's disease, which is like an inner ear inflammation in the inner eardrum, and it causes people to be disoriented. The niacin was used sometimes to treat that, but it was an interesting time when people would come in and we couldn't figure out what was going on. Then Meniere's came up, and this was way back 20 years ago. So any pharmacists out there, you might want to remember, or just look at Meniere's disease if an older person comes and complains to you about being dizzy all the time, because it's they automatically think it's something wrong with the they mistake it for some type of organic brain syndrome of some type. We don't want them taking stuff that they don't need to be taken. So let's see here. Let's do I'm not going to do a commercial break. Let me go ahead and go through this. The niacin, a couple drugs to kind of watch out for: the allopurinol, gemfibrozil, which is for cholesterol. It will interact with that. It'll interact with your clonidine if those of you who have the high blood pressure. And if people who are on thyroid medications, you have to kind of watch out for that. As you know, people who are on thyroid medications, by the thyroid being such a sensitive gland and causing so many problems once that balance is offset, you always have to check with a doctor before you take any of these vitamins, even a B complex. You have to be real careful with thyroid disease. And I think that got Meniere's, we went through everything pretty much. Can't think of anything else that I want to talk about today. Tomorrow, next week, we're going to go through, I'm going to finish up the vitamin Bs. And I haven't decided on what disease state I want to discuss. I'm kind of looking at something leading up to the vitamin D uses. So we'll finish up with the vitamin B, and we'll kind of go through it. If you have any questions, feel free to send me a message. I love hearing from your messages. I did get some good comments. I appreciate that a lot. And I hope everybody has a good week. Everybody take care, stay safe, and stay healthy. All right? Thanks a lot. Take care.